Hi superstars, thanks so much for spending this time with me today. I'm Debbie Starr, the writer of In the Waiting, which is a blog I created on WRStar.com. It's where I share my story of going from being a movie marathoner to running 3 half marathons in 1 year's time. Today, I want to chat with you about your thoughts. I don't know if you've spent any time watching the show that Leah Remini has done on Scientology. It's basically like a documentary when they go through and they interview different people that have left the church, people that were like higher ups in the church. And I'm sure if you know anything about Leah, that she has left the Church of Scientology a few years ago. And anyways, it's just this awesome documentary going through all these different people that were once there. This was their lifestyle. This was their way of life. And they defended it so very strongly. And then things started to unravel. And then these people were fortunate enough to get out. However, there's a lot of people that are still trapped inside. And so the whole documentary has so many interesting things to it. Even though I am a Christian, it was interesting for me because Scientology was one of those secret things. You didn't know too much about it because the people in the congregation was very quiet about it, and you really couldn't figure it out unless you went in. So to me, that was kind of like a giant red flag anyways. But anyhow, in one of these sessions, when she is they're chatting with somebody, they're actually interviewing a doctor, and the doctor, they're kind of questioning him, and he is a specialty and like knows all about cults and different things like that suck people in and how they can control and manipulate them. And he said the one thing that they all have in common is that they all will take the person, and a lot of times the person has some kind of problem or things like that going on, and they'll take the person and they beat them down and they strip them of everything, and then they turn around and build them back up. And they build them back up in a certain way that they're then able to control and manipulate them. That anytime that they try to, act on their own or think on their own or do their own thing, then they're squashed back down. And of course, as I was watching this, I was just like, man, I cannot believe these people get sucked into this. And for me, in my background is I was raised with a grandfather that was a very strong Christian. He was all about against the cults and don't drink the Kool-Aid and all that kind of stuff when we were growing up. He was so strong that he was against like any type of rock and roll. And it was like he always could tie somebody somehow, some way to the enemy, like to the devil. And this symbolized that. And that just totally turned me off to any of those kind of things when I was younger. And the more that anybody told me not to watch something or do something, I kind of rebelled and wanted to do the opposite. I had a curiosity of why not. But anyways, my dad, I'm one of 3 girls. My dad always raised us girls to say, think for yourself, Debbie. And my dad has always told us that and just told us that growing up, that, these people that get sucked into different cults and gangs and all these kind of things, a lot of times is because they stop thinking for themselves and they start just following somebody who they believe has a way of life that's going to help them, that's going to save them. And so I'm so thankful, Daddy. Thank you so much for you raised 3 strong women who believe in God and love God, and we all 3 of us think for ourselves and have really good, strong head on our shoulders. And I'm so thankful for that. And so as I was watching this program, I was like totally being self-righteous and totally being prideful, thinking, I don't know how these people could ever get sucked into this. How could they ever think that way? How could they ever believe some of this stuff? And right then the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, you might not have believed those things, but you've believed all the lies that the enemy has whispered into your ear for years about being overweight. And I was totally taken aback by it. And I was like, wow, I never thought of that. But the reality is when you've been overweight for so long and you've gained a lot of weight, you start feeling like you're limited because you are in some times. You can't just go out and run. You can't lift what you used to do before if your muscles have, atrophied and gone away. You have some limitations, but that doesn't mean you have to stay there. However, I did stay there for a long period of time because I believed that I was never really going to lose the weight. I believed that I was overweight and that was never going to change. I believed all the lies that the enemy whispered to me, that I was weak, that I was overweight and I was always going to be, that all women gain weight after having babies and they don't ever get back to their old figure or their old weight before. And I just believed that I was always going to wear a size with an X in front of it. And I believed that all these thoughts, all these negative lies, and they were all lies, and as I'm going on this journey, I'm realizing that, again, you don't have to stay there. That might be where you're at now, but you can find a way to how to get out of it. And just like these people who were once trapped in this cult, they pre-planned, they found a way to get themselves out, and they thought it through and then went through it. When the time came to, make that plan, and then they had the opportunity that the window was open, the door was open, or something was left unlocked, they had that way of escape. And they took that time, that opportunity then and went, because they knew that time might not come again. And so I just thought about that in kind of like my own journey of weight loss too, is that, gather together whatever the goal is that you're wanting to do, whether it's just eating healthier, whether it's starting to exercise, whether it's eating, certain fruits and vegetables that you never ate before, and introducing those things. All of that is different. All that's a change, but you find out what you want to do and take that time, invest it, and then go from there. Then when the time is right, if you're being led by the Holy Spirit, God is going to tell you when the time is right. Okay, now is when you need to start walking. Okay, now is when you need to start walking. Okay, now is when you need to start running. Okay, now is when you need to pick up the pace. Okay, now is when you need to add some distance. And it's not just an overnight thing, and these people that have all escaped, it's really an emotional journey. If you watch this documentary, just to warn you, get the Kleenexes ready, because it's just so devastating to see all the time. They say over and over again how much time they wasted and invested into what was just false, what was complete lies, and they were self-serving somebody else. And, it's easy to get bogged down too, and to think about all the time that you wasted being overweight, or how many years it's been that you've not fit into size XYZ, or haven't seen a certain number on the scale. But all that's going to do is make you just really live in defeat. And these people are spending time in counseling and things like that to rehabilitate themselves, to find out what truth is and to seek that out, and then to become and rebuild their lives. And to, the ones that are surviving and thriving are not only rebuilding their lives, but then they're also going in and help to rescue out those that are still in there. Because a lot of these people are saying how they still have loved ones that are trapped basically in this cult. And so anyways, I guess I feel like that's part of my mission here, is to share with you superstars, so that you can do it. It is possible. And it's not about being a certain size. It's not about fitting in a bikini. It's not about all these things that everybody thinks. It's about being healthy and being there for your family. But all of that will never happen until you change the way you think and the way that you believe. All those people that were still brainwashed by that cult and believing that that was truth, they were defended. They turned in other people. They would turn in their own spouses and loved ones when they felt like they were going to possibly, fly the coop. And that's how much they still believed that the church was over their loved one and their spouse. And I'm here to tell you, that is not Jesus. That is not the God I serve. Jesus died for me. He sacrificed for me. He already proved his love to me and to all of us. That's not the God that I serve. I just have to believe and accept, and then that Jesus died on the cross for my sins, and that his blood covers all of my sins, and that I did before in the past and today, and things that I will do in the future. And that's my salvation. That's my connection to God. It's not me going through these certain levels and going through these certain steps or over this bridge or whatever their crazy beliefs are. And even within a Christian church, there's so many different times I feel like it becomes a religion, when it's all this, you do these things out of actions, repetitions, and because this is what we're supposed to do. And whenever the heart is disconnected, that's not serving God anymore. Then that starts serving man. And you're doing it out of, not because your love for God and that you want to do these things to help love others. And because the two main commandments is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and to love other people. So when you start to separate that and it becomes out of a ritual and a routine, that's when you got to take a look at your heart and say, okay, why am I doing this? But I want to share a couple, I just want to share the story with you about your thoughts and how important that is. And then I wanted to share a couple scriptures in Proverbs 17. Proverbs has so much amazing wisdom. It's very easy and to understand. But here's just a couple great nuggets that pertains to what we're talking about today that I want to share with you. So 17:9 says, "He who covers and forgives an offense seeks love, but he who repeats or harps on a matter separates even close friends." So I say this because when I read this, you know, obviously it's talking about love and forgiveness, and you can look at it in many different ways. You can look at it as when you love somebody and you've truly forgiven them, you don't keep bringing it up. Oh yeah, well you did this 6 months ago. Oh yeah, well you did this 2 years ago. You covered that, you've forgiven that, and you move forward. But you also need to love and forgive yourself. You know, you can't beat yourself down for allowing yourself to have these unhealthy habits and unhealthy lifestyles and whatever has led you up to wherever you're at now. Focus on the future and know that God's love covers that. If Jesus has already forgiven you, stop beating yourself up for it. Stop. You got to forgive yourself. You got to love yourself, and you got to go past that. Okay. And I want you to spend that time to focus on the things that you are doing and not so much on what you haven't done or what you can't do. But you know, when it says he who repeats or harps on the matter separates, you know, we don't want separation. We want healing. You know, we want unity. We want to get to that goal. And so if all we're thinking of all these negative things, we can easily beat ourselves down and then not want to focus and have the energy to focus on what we got to do in order to achieve what we're going towards, you know? And so later on in 17, then it also says in verse 22, a happy heart is a good medicine, and a cheerful mind works healing, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. So the point I want to make there is, I'm sure you've all heard, you know, happy heart is a good medicine, but it says a cheerful mind works healing. So think about those thoughts. You know, when you start thinking about negative things, is it cheerful? If it's not, get rid of it, because a cheerful mind is what's going to get you healing in your body, healing in your mind and healing in your body. You know, where the mind goes, the man follows. You know, what we think in our minds becomes our actions. And just to prove this, you know, if I'm sitting there thinking about Starbucks long enough, and how much I love Starbucks and how much I want, you know, an iced caramel macchiato sounds so good, I'm going to eventually get myself in the car and I'm going to drive down the road and get me a Starbucks, because I think about that and I'm dwelling on enough. It's like my mouth starts watering. I know that sip of that caramel mixed with the milk, you know, I'm totally there. And eventually my actions are going to follow through. And it's the same thing with anything else. If you think about something long enough, it's going to come into action. So think about the good stuff. Think about the goals. Think about the nourishment of eating those healthy things. Don't just bog yourself down by all the things that you've not done right or that you've been negative. And in the cheerful mind, I really want you to do that. Take every thought captive, because Christ says that we were supposed to renew our minds daily. Why daily? Because every single day there's going to be a battle for something. Whether it's a battle to not get your workout done, or a battle to not eat healthy, you know, a battle for whatever it is. There's battles in our minds all the time, you know, thinking negative thoughts. You know, we got to love ourselves and love our body. And that's going to do so much more for your body than beating it up and tearing yourself up and bogging yourself down. So the cheerful mind works healing, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. If you are broken, if you found yourself broken and there's issues going on, because I can understand that, and that is the reason why that you're craving food, and that's the reason why you have this addiction to food, that you keep going to it and going to it, find healing. And it starts with a cheerful mind. Because if you don't find it healing, it says right here that a broken spirit is going to dry up the bones. Our emotional health is just as important. In fact, I think that leads to physical health. Our emotional health, our emotions are a part of us that God created so that we can know when something was out of balance or something was done wrong, but not stay there. You know, it's not we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We don't stay there and pitch a tent and camp out and hang out there. No, we go through devastation. Some of us go through loss, abuse, whatever it is, but we walk through that, and Jesus will walk it through you. If you have issues right now, I just say go get help. Go get help so that you can have healing and not have a broken spirit. So I hope all this was healing to you. I hope it's encouraging you. And I just really wanted to share what I felt like God was wanting me to share with you today. So I love you all. And my prayer for you is always that you will make healthy choices while you're in the waiting.